When we're talking about time-stamped baby names, right now the number one that I have my eye on is Lainey. So this trajectory is always kind of like a red flag, like, oh, maybe that's going to turn into a time-stamped name. It all depends on if it has longevity or not. So Lainey went from a name that wasn't even in the top 500 to a top 50 name within 7 years, which is crazy. If it can stay in that top 50 place for a good amount of time, it won't feel time-stamped. But a lot of times when you see a name rise like this, it falls almost as quickly. It won't fall all the way back down, but if it falls like back into like the outside the top 100 in the next 4 or 5 years, then it's very much going to feel like a 2025 baby name. One that I was sure was on this path was Freya, and I was wrong. When I started seeing it rise a few years ago, I was like, okay, this is going to be like one of the names of 2020, but it never really reached the popularity I expected it to, or the trajectory I thought it was going to. So it never got like popular enough for it to feel time-stamped to any time period. It wasn't even in the top 100, and now it's starting to fall. So I rescind that one because I did mention that in a video probably 2 years ago. And sometimes it's a naming trend that ends up feeling time-stamped and not like an individual name itself. And within that trend, under the umbrella, maybe not a single one of those names ever got popular enough for it to be like a standalone time-stamped name, but because it fell under that umbrella, it might end up feeling that way. So with like the Frankie, Stevie, Scotties, they all had like this huge jump in the last few years. Same deal as with Lainey though. When you see like a spike like that, it's a red flag, like maybe that name is going to feel time-stamped, but you really can't tell until we see how much longevity the trend has. And whenever I talk about time-stamped names, people are like, you just pick on the girl names, but, well, I'm not picking on it, first of all. There's nothing wrong with a name being time-stamped. I actually kind of think it's fun when your name is like representative of the time you were born in. But second of all, girl name trends are just a lot more volatile. There's a lot more rising and falling, so there's a lot more opportunity for any given name to feel time-stamped, whereas boys' names tend to hold their popularity for longer. So like right now I'm looking at Mateo. Technically Mateo in a few years, maybe we'll say that's a time-stamped name, but I don't think so. I think it's got the longevity. I think it's going to stay at least in the top 25 for over a decade, and therefore it's not really ever going to feel like time-stamped to one specific short period of time. And a name can be like double time-stamped too, where you hear it and you're like, okay, she was either born in 1924 or 2024. So like Eleanor, for example, that one kind of follows that trend where it was very, very popular 100 years ago, very, very popular now. Not very popular for people in my generation. And in case you didn't see my last video, time-stamped names are morally neutral. They're not good, they're not bad, they're just something people like to consider, especially if they themselves had a time-stamped name and didn't love that experience. Usually those are the only ones who are like trying to avoid it, and there are just as many people with time-stamped names who are like, oh, I actually really liked that, and I like when I meet people with my name, they're all like my peers, they're my age.